We've got a great show coming up for you on American Black Journal. It is Earth Month, and we've teamed up with Bridge Detroit for conversation about climate change and its impact on people of color. We're going to talk about the effects of heavy rains and extreme heat on Black Detroiters and low-income residents. Plus, we'll explore strategies to address all of these issues. Don't go away. American Black Journal starts right now.
From Delta faucets to Behr paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929. Support also provided by the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
The DTE Foundation proudly supports 50 years of American Black Journal in covering African American history, culture, and politics. The DTE Foundation and American Black Journal, partners in presenting African American perspectives about our communities and in our world.
Also brought to you by Nissan Foundation and viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. April is Earth Month, and today we have partnered with Bridge Detroit for a look at climate change and its disproportionate impact on people of color. Two of the main concerns for Detroiters are extreme heat and heavy rains. We want to start with a report on how streets and basements are flooding on a regular basis in our city. One Detroit's Bill Kubota visited the hard-hit Jefferson-Chalmers neighborhood on the east side to examine the problem and explore some solutions.
Blake Granum lives on a canal down by the Detroit River, the Jefferson-Chalmers neighborhood on the Lower East Side.
I've been over here my whole life. Jefferson-Chalmers has been a secret, and it's now not a secret anymore. It was just a little gem in the city where the canals run behind these houses, and you have such a diverse neighborhood.
But every time it rains, Granum documents what goes on in the streets.
This is an ongoing problem, and it needs to be resolved because of all the water that we're getting.
Flood insurance in this low-lying area, expensive. The flooding, it wasn't always this way.
You know, we get basement backups, and then we get streams in the...
So you're talking right here.
Right here in front of our house.
The fight is on to save Jefferson-Chalmers. Jake Jurgensen, one of its leaders.
Is this neighborhood at risk?
Very much so. Yeah, I would say that we are at a critical point in our neighborhood's trajectory and its history. If we don't fix the problems that are happening now, our neighborhood will go the way of the dinosaur. There's no question about it.
Then the water receded.
We first met John Myers back in 2019. It was record high water on the Great Lakes, the Detroit River, causing the canals to overflow.
The Army Corps and the city volunteers sandbagged this, which is good because I did breach the cap by an inch or so.
With the heavy rains, the attention now, what goes on down below?
This was just rebuilt in October, and it was collapsed from the construction. They ran a truck over and it just caved in, and so they rebuilt it in all cement and bricks and such, and ever since then it hasn't drained. So
there were some serious mistakes made about 100 years ago when they filled this piece of land in. I mean, this is all of the Grand Marais or the Great Marsh. Basically, this was a village called Fairview Village. It went from Waterworks Park to Cadieux in Grosse Pointe. But there were 6 automobile manufacturers right in this neighborhood: Chalmers, Continental, Hudson, and they wanted the tax base. So they said, look, we'll suck you into Detroit and you can go into our sewer system.
An historic neighborhood with an historic combined sewer system where sewage water mixes with stormwater. Too much rain, you get combined sewer overflows.
When you try to throw everything into pipes underground, they fill up. And once they get to a certain point, the city goes down to the Fox Creek and they remove the log jams and they let it go right out the canal. And that's to keep it out of the basements. But 2014, 2016, 2019, and then 2021, I had a swimming pool in my basement, along with a lot of other people.
It trashed basements across Detroit, especially the east side.
So I'll tell you, when the flood came, everybody on that side of the street lost their car. 'Cause every time it rains here, we get flooding. We get flooding in the streets, and that's eroding things. Things are swelling and going down and swelling and going down. My house is moving. Right there.
Well, it looks like it's damp.
Yeah.
Probably all the time it looks damp, huh?
Yeah.
Along the canals, tiger dams, intended to ward off high water, although lake levels have been receding of late.
That orange thing, yeah.
Now, has that been there a while?
It was put there after 2016. That was the solution.
That's not a permanent solution, is
No.
it? No. Well, it's not going away anytime soon, is it?
I hope it goes away. It's not doing anything now but junking up the place. That and all the sandbags that went down.
Waterfront estates with boat docks. That's nice. But the tiger dams? And it'd be better without sewage in the water.
It's only supposed to be utilized in emergency situations. But of course, more than twice a year for the last dozen years, we've had discharges into the canal.
Greg Sawyer wants better notification when the sewage discharges happen.
I mean, we've caught people fishing in the water the day after the discharge, and nobody's informed them that that is not the appropriate thing to do. We have people that swim in the canal.
We do know that raw sewage is being dumped into the canals. So what we want to do is test the toxicity.
Grab the handle so you don't lose it all.
And we decided to tap our local teens who are in environmental science class at King High School and take it to the lab and see what the results are.
I want to be below that time, but above this second line. Has there been a lot of testing of the water here?
I don't think so. So this is something that we're doing grassroots on our own.
And so we're going to get a reference point of the bacteriological load as well as the chemical load so that when there is an event, we can have a team out here within 24 to 36 hours to take a sample and compare the two so we can say this is what happens when we have a global climate event in the city.
There's federal money to upgrade the region's infrastructure. Jefferson-Chalmers will need a lot of it.
We got to look at all the options. We've got to work with the federal government. We've got to understand how climate is changing and shifting and what that means when you live along any major body of water. So we've got to understand everything and how are you now going to live in that area.
One proposed fix: install locks separating the canals from the river.
It would be a permanent situation until they got the crane back out there to pull it back out. It would not.
Why? What would that do, and what did you think about it?
Well, it's not the answer. Closing off waterways doesn't stop water.
Blocking the canals, rejected by the residents, some who want consideration for other, bigger, bolder ideas.
What we're talking about is a demonstration project. A demonstration project takes a look at a variety of technologies and said, how can we deploy these different technologies?
Not new technologies, really, just not seen so much in these parts.
Take a look at this. This plastic device is driven into the soil. And it allows for infiltration to happen more quickly.
More than that, Jurgensen's suggesting underground stormwater holding tanks installed under vacant fields and city streets. A lot of digging. Better the water there than in people's basements.
I don't know if that can be successful, but those are the type of things that need to come together so we can have all the facts and say what is going to be successful and the reason why. And also what's the cost associated with that. That was a pretty ambitious plan from what I saw.
And who's offering up all the property where these takes might go, even if there are the many, many millions of dollars it'd take to do it?
And if water's a problem, maybe you ought to move.
Well, that's one option. You have to think about affordability. Not everybody has that option, unfortunately. So what you can do is just work together as citizens and organize ourselves, educate ourselves, and figure out some solutions.
Why do you stay here with all this water?
I was born and raised in Detroit. I'm a lifelong Detroiter. All my children live here. I really who doesn't like living off the water?
Given what climate change is and water levels rising, changes, we're all going to have to adapt. Not to say that they can't have what they have, it's just going to have to change, is probably more accurate. And we don't know what that change is unless we work together.
We already know what the problem is. We don't need to investigate a million other things. We know what the issue is. We just need to now find a solution of how to fix our infrastructure. And I know that costs a lot of money, but I mean, our neighborhood and the people in this community, we're worth it. We're worth you guys spending the money.
We've got to solve these problems, or the residents in our neighborhood, and not just our neighborhood, Dearborn, the Detroit Aviation Sub, Morningside, the areas that are plagued with these chronic infrastructure problems will continue to see their property values go down because they won't have the resources to invest in their homes, to improve their value, and have them appreciate over time. So we have to solve these. We don't have a choice. Well, like I said, our neighborhood will go the way of the dinosaurs.